Hello, techno friends. How's it going today? I just saw in the chat that we reached 20,000 subscribers. That's excellent. Thanks to all of you who have been tuning in and checking out what we're doing, and of course subscribing. Welcome. That animation's a little silly, isn't it? It's like, whoop. It's another Selway's Techno Saturday. How's it going? Nice to have you here. And I don't know, this week's been a little bit rough with technical stuff. Actually, last week my PC was freaking out right ahead, and then yesterday I think Abe may be having some internet connection issues causing dropouts that we're still trying to figure out. And then today my MacBook Pro, it's an older one, but it's been serving me well. It's not like these brand new fancy M1 Max MacBook Pros they have out there now, but it's been holding up for the most part. But just now I was trying to load up this project and complain. The fan's running and hot. You know, it's crazy. So I don't know. Cross your fingers and go along for the ride. It's going to be a chill ride today. I'm not banging it out. I was going through some old unfinished sketches, and I don't know. I guess lately, the last couple of weeks, I've been feeling more on the mellow side, and those are the things that have been jumping out at me. So, picked kind of more on the chill electro side, let's say today. Less of the banging techno. You know how I kind of go back and forth between genres. Even though it says Techno Saturdays, sometimes we may veer off course a little bit. Sometimes it's Electro Saturdays. So those of you, all right, 20,000 subscribers. It's a great milestone for us. Thank you very much to all of you. And for those of you who have been following along for a little while, you know that 343 TV is brought to you by 343 Labs Music Production School in New York City, where I am. Today, I am in the 343 streaming studio. There's a class going on right next door. Ableton Live, I think it's a beginner course going on. And so you know what we do. We have a location in Berlin as well. We do online courses. We do in-person courses. We do private lessons. We have our Discord community. We have sample challenges going on there. We've been beta testing and getting ready to start up a subscription program, 343 Studio, which has been, kind of fun and interesting, and looking forward to seeing how that develops. I had said we might be starting in December, but actually I think we're going to wait, and we want to make sure it's just right. So we'll have an actual announcement when we're ready to go public with that. I got a little ahead of myself when I talked about December. So let's see. I can also mention, of course, that we have a giveaway as usual. What's the giveaway today? It is your chance to win a 343 Pro session of your choice. Every now and then we have artists come in. You get kind of an intimate one-on-one, not one-on-one, just small group kind of interaction with an artist or producer, showing you, into their studio, into their workflow, what they do. And it's a good experience. So definitely worth giving us your email for a chance to win. And the link is in the description. I think it may be pinned at the top of the YouTube chat. Who is here today? Who was first today? Let's scroll up the chat and see. John H. Kingston III from Rockaway Park, New York was first. You've been consistently one of the most consistent first in the chat, I would say. So who else is in here? Todilas, hello. Dane, what's up, Dane? Nice to see you. K. Stabel, finally on time. Yes, you were on time and I wasn't. Sorry about that. We have Thomas from 343 in the chat. F-Stop, welcome back. F-Stop, are you the one that asks about the more kind of deep dish era stuff? Still thinking about that. Might do like a house special one of these days. We'll see. There's definitely, for me, house and techno coexist in the same universe. They are not completely, totally separate, right? There's so much crossover, and I'm not just talking about tech house. It's been house and techno from the beginning, for sure. Chicago and Detroit and all of that, I feel like it kind of all evolved in parallel. Not in isolation, certainly. They were definitely influencing each other the whole way. And just like European techno and American techno have been going back and forth. And who was first? Well, we err on the side of Detroit here. But there's definitely some very close timing going on. And there's definitely been some back and forth with electronic music, all kinds of music. Musicians inspire each other. None of this stuff exists in a vacuum. Something always came before that you were inspired by. All right, enough about that. Who else is in the chat? Danica, welcome. Thank you for the congratulations. Hey, Absent. Absent asks, who actually releases techno music on here? Curious to hear some of your stuff. Yeah, well, I would suggest to those of you who have not already to, click on the Discord link down in the description there and join up. We have, ample opportunity as part of the Discord community to share and get feedback on music that you're working on. So, there is a techno music channel in there. It's not specifically for feedback. It's usually, sort of people posting tracks that they like, things like that. But, in the feedback channel in the Discord, definitely, if any of you guys are making techno or electro, I'd love to hear what you're doing. So absolutely, you can easily share with each other there. Now, Simple Sam is a regular. Welcome back. Who else is in here? Farning, hello. And username. I always get a kick out of the random or generic names somehow. I think it's kind of funny. Martin Crockett's back. Mundulator's here. Pavel is back. What else we got going on here? Josh, did I mention Josh Holiday? Hello, Josh Holiday. And scrolling down. I think that's pretty much it. Right. I appreciate, Sam, the smooth segue into the Discord plug, right? You like that? I'm getting better at this after doing it for more than a year. Those sort of things happen naturally. All right, so let's talk a little bit about today. Right now, we're just hanging out. I'm in a mellow mood, relatively. I was thinking about what is it that's making me kind of wanting to play and present some more mellow kind of stuff the last couple of weeks. In my own life, there's a lot of craziness going on right now. And I think that's what it is, that when I'm working on music, I'm enjoying the kind of more relaxing vibe as a way to balance out my hectic day-to-day life. So I think that's probably what's happening. And as I said, I was looking through some old projects, thinking about, developing them, seeing if they're ready for arranging yet. I don't think this one's quite at the arranging stage. Let's quickly, I'll just listen to a little bit of what's going on with this groove here. It's very spacious. There's a lot of bass underneath. I actually have there are 3 kick drums going on in this thing. Probably too many, but I like the kind of subtle rumbly thing that the different low frequency elements are doing. And got some hi-hats, and the hi-hats are modulating. They're sort of floating up and down. It's just a slow LFO moving some parameters. And that's kind of what I was going for with this, is slow rolling, chill electro. This is the main groove. This is just one of the default drum kits in live. It's the D550 Classic. And these old school synth drum machines are pretty much, bread and butter for electro. Got a little bit of processing on there, a little bit of overdrive to crunch it up. And then I have in the background, and I think this also this is one of those ones where I started with presets. It's frozen now. I mentioned a little earlier that my computer was complaining and my CPU is throttling. It's getting hot. I love Live's wavetable synth. It is a CPU hog. So this is a simple sound that I don't plan on changing too much, so I went ahead and froze this track. But you can hear it's just kind of a rumbly distant kick drum in the background, creating a layer underneath this guy. Pavel asks, what CPU works well on Apple with Ableton and Logic from the older Macs? I think the problem is some of these MacBook Pros, like most of the Intel processors can handle a decent number of tracks and effects and plugins and things like that. But what happens with all the MacBook Pros pre-M1, or not all of them, but many of the models pre-M1 Mac are, they overheat. Especially after you've had the computer for a while, the cooling becomes less effective. The thermal paste on the CPU die becomes less effective. Dust gets stuck in there and the fans are less effective. The CPUs overheat. It automatically gets throttled down and you lose performance. I mean, that's just a typical scenario with MacBook Pros and MacBooks pre-M1. If you're using an iMac or a Mac Mini that have better cooling, you would have this problem far less often. And I probably need to take my MacBook Pro to be serviced, to be cleaned out, to make sure that I'm not having overheating issues due to excess dust and things like that. Although I am looking forward to one day being able to afford one of the new ones. That is definitely on my list of things to do, to save up for. Cool. And yeah, also Ableton Live, the last couple of versions has been more CPU intensive. So you run into fewer issues when you're not using a lot of third-party plugins, I suppose. But I can't blame it all on Ableton, though. I think with MacBooks and overheating, I think that's been the biggest problem. And I have an older MacBook Pro of mine had a logic board issue, which Apple never, as far as I understand, or that I researched, Apple never acknowledged or officially said there's a problem with it. And I remember taking my older Mac in to get repaired, and they were like, you have to get a whole new logic board, and there's a 50-50 chance it's going to die again because, the problem is with the original hardware. And so even if you replace it, it's still going to have that problem. And you know what? I went ahead and replaced the logic board, and guess what? The problem happened again. And that prompted this current MacBook purchase. So, all right, enough about Apple and MacBooks. Fresh installs are helpful as well, but ultimately, I think from my experience, the biggest problem is the overheating and the throttling of the CPU. All right, let's go back to chill vibes, because honestly, talking about CPU overheating and losing performance is making me stressed out. All right, so I got the rolling beats. I got the reverb distant kick, and then I have this. This is another kick drum sample, except I'm using it as a bass note. I like the overtones, and this is a sound from one of my favorite drum sample collections. It's a Wave Alchemy synth drum. It's been around a long time. Actually, I feel like I need to freshen up my my drum sample library, but honestly, I haven't run into any. I don't need to have thousands of sounds to choose from. I like using sounds that I'm familiar with. All right, or if I need something new, I make it myself. All right, there's yet another kick drum. I may not end up using all of these layers. I just wanted something rolling. Let's take out the D550. I like the open spaciousness of this, actually. It's less electro and more sort of cinematic. I have another percussion loop, which is sort of a strange tambourine tuned down sort of thing with a bunch of delay on it. This is a maybe sound for me, I think. It kind of works. Maybe need to sweeten up that sound a little bit more. It doesn't even have EQ on it. Simple Sam, speaking about the Glasgow Climate Summit. Let's hope the Glasgow Summit will end up helping combat climate change. I hope so too. But you know, I think they're still talking more than they're doing. Farning says it reminds me of an old Two Lone Swordsmen track. Anything in particular? I love Two Lone Swordsmen. And if you've been around for a while, you know I had one, sadly, the remaining Lone Swordsman, Keith Tenniswood, Radioactive Man, as a guest on the show. What a guy. Would love to have him back. Anyway, I'm honored. Thank you, Farning. So this so far is just beats and atmosphere. I have a couple of melodic elements that I'm working on. Keeping very chill, ambient, spacey. And this is kind of a pseudo semi-generative thing going on here. Using some random MIDI. I have all the notes limited to a particular scale. This is just one of the scale presets from live. So we're limiting to just these notes. And then I've got a MIDI effect rack dividing those random notes up. Well, it looks like I only did one chain, so there's... Oh, I remember now. Yeah, I remember what this is now. It's been a little while. I think I had been in the Ableton Live class I was doing a while back. We had been looking at MIDI effect racks and figuring out, like, what do you do with these things? And one of the things I like to do with MIDI effect racks is separate out key ranges so that different notes may have different MIDI effects applied to them. So this is only this is an incomplete rack, but you can see that there's 3 chains and that this chain is only has one note in it. And then there's above and below that, right? And so depending on what's on each chain, so this is I'm randomizing literally one note here. And you can see whether this is really necessary or not. Honestly, I don't recall how important this is to the sound, but it's making it so only this D sharp will ever randomize to something else. And I'm curious, what happens if I turn this off? Does it change? Very little. If anything, it's barely making a difference at all. So you can ignore that. Other than that, I'm using a couple of Max for Live LFO MIDI devices to make subtle changes to the sound and wavetable. But I think most of the action here, in terms of the musical variation, is simply randomizing and using this enigmatic scale preset after it to limit the random melody to certain notes on that scale. And then this is mainly just, the notes I'm playing in the MIDI clip are determining the harmony and the rhythm. Josh Holiday asks if I can do a session just on Generative. Let me think about that. There's a lot of different ways to generate variation and to generate musical ideas. And I tend to keep it simple, not go overboard with randomizing or generating stuff, but I like to come up with a solid musical idea and then use subtle amounts of generative process to create variation. Null Void says, needs more lasers. Maybe we'll get there. I'll keep that in mind. All right. So this is the sleepiest part. Actually, there's another sleepy part. Let's hear what the other wavetable is doing. I think it's just a pad that comes in every now and then. Oh, it's muted. Let's try that again. Okay. This music is definitely helping me stay calm today. My heart rate is slower. Yeah. Not too crazy. Simple wavetable pad. I think most of the action happening here is sample and hold LFO, synced LFO, randomizing the filter, creating a rhythm out of the filter. I like that. Okay. And there's the driving. Now it's electro. Chill electro, right? It's got the driving rolling beat now. Right, yes. Kenneth, we were listening to the version without the beats for so long, and then all of a sudden, whoa! Cool. So I'm at the point where I need to start deciding what else to add to this. And I thought about doing something higher, more energetic, but not too in your face. I considered putting a 303 in it. I mean, honestly, adding acid or an acid line to something like this, I know it's going to work, and I may still do it, but I feel like also it's almost too easy to just throw a 303. I could throw an audio realism bass line, put it in the right key, generate a random pattern, click a couple of buttons, and it's going to sound great. You've seen me do it here before. So, but I may still get there because I like acid and chill and electro combined for sure. I think we mentioned recently on one of the other streams, I might have mentioned Space Night, which was something that used to be on television late night in Germany, and they would play crazy trippy visuals and play music like this for hours overnight. It was great. And my friend Jason and I had a track we did called Cosmic Connection that was played on Space Night, and they also put it on a compilation that they released on CD back in the 90s. So always a special place in my heart for Space Night. Definitely a good vibe. But so yeah, what I decided to try is, and this is semi-generative, okay? This is using its controlled randomness to create something, to create a melody. Not truly generative, I would say, because it's not going to really evolve the composition's not going to evolve in a logical way, right? It's just going to throw out notes. And we'll see. So, what I was starting to do earlier, and then, everybody just keep your fingers crossed and, pray if you do that my CPU and my computer stay happy for the rest of this stream. But basically what I was doing is stacking up a big chord. So, this is kind of what I came up with at first. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and start this again from scratch so you can see. Starting I picked operator. I was trying another plugin before, but then my CPU was freaking out. So I decided, okay, what's a cool plugin that I really like to use that doesn't really overload the CPU? And operator is definitely one of those. So I'm just going to start building up a big chord that goes with the music I'm already playing. I mean, I could start, I think the root is G sharp, but I'm not gonna start on the root. I'm gonna start with notes above or below or whatever, just. And it doesn't necessarily all have to be notes in the scale or in specific chords. You might even pick a couple of notes that don't sound quite right just to see. All right, but I feel like I'm just going up and picking notes that I think will be all right. Okay. We're not hearing all the notes play in the chord because the number of voices in the synth are limited to 6, but actually that's okay because I'm going to turn this into a melody, not play all the notes at once. And I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm not using anything really fancy, any crazy Max for Live generative devices. We're just going to use Live's arpeggiator. And set it to random or random other or random once. Random once is cool. Well, let's just start with random, all right? Do 16th notes, and okay, it's a start. You see what I'm getting at? It's just doing typical arpeggiator stuff, but it's randomly creating variations. If I do random once, it'll randomize and then keep repeating those, which is actually pretty cool. But then if I stop it and start it, it's going to be different. Oh no, maybe. What happens if I do random other? Small difference. It's kind of nice just with that simple sine wave. Hey, Simple Sam. You could be Simple Sine. That was silly. Sorry. And thank you, Sam, for sacrificing, making. Sorry, goat. Does it have to be a goat? Something smaller. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the other one that I already started, because the next step was sort of, you know, coming up with this random cluster, not random, semi-random cluster of notes that fit into a chord that fits the harmony of what I'm trying to do, and then randomizing it to create melodies, and then designing the sound around it. So that's sort of where we were at with this. All right, right now it's the arpeggiator's actually on up. Let's go down to one of the randoms. Right, so starting from the sine wave, nice long release time. Okay. One of the little features of Operator that I find interesting is that you can assign velocity to the ratio or the coarse tuning. And that can be really interesting. So it's kind of taking it up the harmonic series. Now what I'm doing is randomizing the velocity. So now it's creating even more complexity in that random melody, but it's doing it in the synth. It's not MIDI notes. Let's bring in a modulator. This is so like pure simple FM, which I really like. I'm also using the filter. And pure FM synthesis doesn't rely on filters initially, but of course you can add filters, and Live has this nice morphing filter. And I'm trying to make something that's rhythmic and percussive and melodic and sort of bright and shiny all at the same time. Haven't gotten there yet, so you get to see me kind of dive in and nerd out and try to make the sound in front of you. But before we get any deeper in that, let's just take a little break and remind all of you that this is 343 TV. My name is John Selway, and 343 Labs is a music production school in New York and Berlin. We do online courses and in-person courses, and we've got all sorts of stuff going on all the time. We've got our Discord community, which you can join. There's a link below. Of course, there's also our website, so you can get more information about the courses that we're running at any given time. And okay, we have our giveaway. We'll be announcing the winners shortly. We're giving away a 343 Pro session of your choice. So if you have not already, this is your last chance. Check the link that is pinned at the top of the YouTube chat. And that's that. Back to business. Actually, chat. What's up, chat? Let's see where you are. Emmanuel Maudica, have you ever used Ableton and Reason in rewire mode? What do you think about it? I think I used to do that a lot, actually. I haven't in a while. I definitely want to update to a newer version of Reason, but nowadays, Reason runs as a plugin in a DAW. I mean, do I still have it on this computer? I don't remember. Now, this is if there was ever a time to cross your fingers or sacrifice a goat to keep my CPU alive, it would be now, because if there it is, Reason Studios Reason Rack plugin. So I could actually just load up Reason. Okay, I don't know if my account's gonna, yeah, network error. I had to turn the Wi-Fi off, but it's not running. If you can see sort of behind me in the blurry version that it didn't load. But yes, you can load Reason directly nowadays and use it almost in full within your DAW as a plugin. So I think that's the way to go now. What else is happening here in the chat? Simple Sam says, sometimes you forget how much cool stuff is already in Live. I agree. I mean, I forget. I've been using Live for years, and if you don't use something and you get out of the habit of using it and you rediscover it again, it's kind of like, oh, it's been there all along. I love it. Nice. Danica Becker, I think we're talking about Simple Signs and Simple Sam and old saws, simple signs, but don't be square. I don't know. I like a good square wave. Square waves sound warm and fat, especially for bass, right? Cool. So, yes, floating sounds, stardust of sounds. Let's get back to this chill, hypnotic, spacey groove we've got going on today. And I'm working on this detuned, shiny, very FM sounding thing going on here. Let's hear this in the context of the music. Let's turn down this guy a little bit. Sometimes it sounds like it's out of tune, right? I mean, I'm playing around with making it detuned, but that can throw you out of key even, like especially FM, you know, frequency modulation synthesis is based on the tuning of the oscillators, and if you detune them, you can lose where your notes are. So it's a little bit of a tricky thing. But I like the little metallic wobbly kind of stuff going on in there. And that's happening because of the detuning. Let's soften this up a little bit. We're getting some clicking in there. Increase the attack just slightly. What happens if I do velocity to oscillator tuning here? Oh, that's nice. Oh, see, now I'm hearing... I brought the coarse tuning down of that one modulator, and it's in a different key now. It was interesting, though. Sounds nice with this notch sweeping up and down. I could LFO modulate that. But let's also... I'm using... Everything's tied to the velocity really tightly now. Let's do that for the filter as well and see what happens. The different notes will have different filters, because it is polyphonic. Another thing that's happening is the phase retrigger for the oscillators is off. So every time you hear a note, it's also because the spread is on, that we're hearing different notes at different phase positions, panning and detuned, and it sounds really wide. And I don't know. Let's see what it sounds like with the phase retriggering on, so you can hear the difference. All right, that's without the spread and with the phase retriggering. I'm going to increase the spread. And it sounds fuller and nicer with the detuning and the panning. But now let's do the phase retrigger off. And it should sound wider and sort of spinning around your head a little bit more. We also have the morph. All right, let's see if I'm losing the plot. Does it still sound good with the groove? At some point, this is going to need some effects on it. But I do want to do as much as I can in the synth. It's the purist in me. I'm reducing and inverting the amount of velocity to frequency. Try to sort of make it darker. I like that better, actually. What happens if we put a little bit of a percussive pluck to the filter now? That helps. Does it? I don't know. I'm on the fence. Not bad. It's getting weird, which for me is a good sign. How are we doing? I get so lost in listening to these sounds, and I wonder, like, how is everybody else being affected by this? When it boils down to it, Danica Becker says, I keep going back into Operator. Operator is such a good synth. I I'd love if they gave it an interface upgrade and made it more like wavetable, where you can expand and see more stuff and have visualization and things like that. That, you know, that's for me, like having these small, simple interfaces for devices in live is good. And I know why they do that. But, you know, look at this. This is what operator needs, is this kind of interface. I think I would love it even more. Well, maybe some other little tricks and updates for modulation and things like that. More flexible modulation would be cool. Although it is pretty powerful. It's easy to forget that you have all of this MIDI routing here, and that you can use the pitch envelope as a second modulation envelope, and that actually also the LFO envelope can be a second modulation envelope. There is a lot of power in here. It's easy to skip out on those. All right, I don't know. Let's see how this is. I'm not going to tweak this too much more right now. Maybe a little bit. I want to see how it's working musically with this other stuff. Because keeping in mind now that this is also a sort of a semi-random, endlessly changing sound. So is it going to be too cluttered and busy if they're both constantly evolving? That'll be something I can address in arranging as well, because they don't have to always play at the same time. But I do like to try and get as many parts fitting together as I can, so I have more permutations and combinations that I know will work. Look at this. I've got two things playing, and my CPU, this is what I'm talking about, the CPU just freaking out for no good reason. Keep your fingers crossed. It must be, maybe it's just, look at that. Maybe this is what's using all the CPU, is all the modulation and the visualization and wavetable. I was just saying, oh, it wouldn't be great if operator had all sorts of visualization. This takes more CPU and GPU power. So, of course, I suppose on a new M1 Mac, it would make less of a difference. I love it when that wavetable sound randomly sounds like a and just kind of sticks out. That really works for me. All right, I feel like I'm listening to it for a minute now. I think it fits. It's not way too busy. I can get way too bright if I change the filter. That's why this is one of my favorite filter shapes in the morphable filter. Is you have it's like a low pass with a notch and then a little bit of brightness. It's a nice combo. That's better. Oh, thanks. Todula says, can you play this for the next 48 hours? Should we just leave it running? I have to go at 2 o'clock, but I guess we could just leave this going until the next stream, right? Now that's a challenge. We were mentioning generative a little bit earlier, to like come up with a more complex generative setup where the music keeps evolving, and then just let it play and see how far it goes. All right. I'm going to start thinking about a little bit of effect processing on this sound. I'm going to use a second filter because I like what this morphing filter is doing, but I also want to be able to low pass it sometimes. So, and then this one also we can do some stereo. Yep. And I'm going to do just a little bit of gentle squeeze. It's my favorite preset. compressor preset in live. Just a touch. Oops. Let's change it from phase offset to spin. And that way the left and the right will have different rates. Oh, there's the CPU. I knew it was, at some point, playing everything all at once, it was going to do that. I'm going to stop the pad. Maybe just 2 wavetables is too much. There's a lot of melodic variation in this, just with a couple of random things. I'm happy with that. I think I want a version of this beat, this main beat going on, that doesn't have hi-hats in it. Let's get rid of that tambourine sound. That's nice, more open. It's a lot of hi-hats. Alright, so I have one new part. I could probably arrange this as it is. I keep hearing like a low pad or string playing a bass melody underneath everything. Can't be too deep because there's so much bass already with the multiple kick drums and the rumbly stuff. And the other thing that could happen is chord changes. Right now everything is playing one chord basically. Like, what happens if... Alright, I'm going to duplicate this scene. And... I'm going to take everything up a whole step. Except not the drums, the melodic stuff. Alright, so this one's going to go up a whole step. This one's going to go up a whole step. This one's going to go up a whole step. Let's see if it works. I'm gonna mute the drums. Small moves sometimes, all you need. Some of the notes don't quite work. Maybe that's because of the... I don't know. It should work. Everything's sort of supposed to be harmonically related the same way. Everything moves up in parallel. What am I missing? Did I forget to do this one? Alright, let's see what happens when I go back down. Yeah. Alright. Cross your fingers. I'm gonna add another operator. chill. That needs some effects. Okay, where am I? Oh, it sounds cool with the bass hit underneath it. That's better. Little detuning. What happens if I put spread on it? I love it when like FM sounds can be just so easy and simple and yet just start to sit right where you want it to so fast. All right, I'm just going to quickly record something and then we can work on making that sound work a little bit better. I don't know about that last really low note. It's a little broken up at that octave, but I don't know. I'm going to live with it for now. Let's sweeten the sound up a little bit. Maybe we'll just let it be wobbly and a little too low. It sounds more like an effect at that low octave. I like using the saturator and echo. Just punch up the dry signal a little bit. How does this sound just with the beat? Ah, there goes the CPU again. For sure this is going to need some kind of compressor or something. I'm going to have to hold off now. You can see now with the wavetables doing the complex modulation and multiple voices. And all right, I've only added a couple of operators to that, but my overheating CPU is starting to complain. It is almost 2. I feel like, you know, I got some stuff done today. Definitely fitting the vibe. I think I can work with this. Eventually, I'm going to finish it. And yeah, I'm happy with what's going on here. I don't know. Let's just listen to it one more time. I'm going to turn the bass off here and let's cross our fingers that the computer doesn't totally freak out. Oh, and maybe unsolo the drums. And actually, I'm really liking it a lot without just the looping electro beat. I like just the ambient version as well. But I think, you know, once I get into arranging, we'll make that final decision. And while we listen, we can announce the winner today of our giveaway of a pro session of your choice, Vishnu Bipath. Congratulations. We will be in touch about how to collect your prize. So nice one, Vishnu. Absent is asking, how would I arrange this as a song? Every time you start up this project, the random part sounds different. Well, it's sort of designed to be random and still sound good no matter what it's doing. So I can decide to just live with the fact that it will always be slightly different every time, and that it won't be fixed until the final recording, the final bounce. Because we're using MIDI to generate most of the randomness, you can if you really want to be precise and compose with the generated melodies, then I would insert a MIDI track and record the MIDI output coming after those MIDI effects. And that way I could capture several minutes of these melodies being generated and then go back and edit the ones that I like. That's only going to do the MIDI notes. So if there's stuff happening in the sound with the modulation that's changing constantly, then you would have to commit that to audio and then edit the audio, which is also a perfectly valid way to go. I might do that instead of capturing the MIDI. I can set up an audio track and route the output of that wavetable, and then record 10, 15 minutes of this, and then choose the phrases that I like and then just only use those. If you were to do that for mixing purposes, I would record without all the spatial effects. So like this wavetable's going through an echo and all of this stuff. I would record just the dry synth so I could then process it again afterwards. That gives me more control over the mix levels for the effects and everything. So I would do that here. I would choose, instead of post-mixer, I would do pre-effects, and it's only going to get the audio coming straight out of the synthesizer. So yeah, that's what I would do. Good question. Dennis has a good suggestion. Start with the beat well into the track. I love tracks that do that just float around and you don't know what's going to happen, and then eventually it develops into a groove. It really takes you on a journey. So that's a good idea. I might just try to pull that off. I forgot the channel was deactivated. That works, right? Just generate some kind of arrangement that is floaty, but then you have to create some space and some tension, and then at just the right moment, put the beat in, and then it becomes a dance floor groove all of a sudden. That could be great. Make has a question. When I'm working on my songs, sometimes it sounds boring in a way that the sound or timbre from a synth don't fit with the bass or drums. That always feels out of place. What can I do? I guess that's a big question for the end of the stream. But I think the first thing to come to terms with when you're getting started putting stuff together and making your own music is the sound, trying to choose sounds from the beginning that complement each other in a nice way. So try changing the sounds until you are happy with it. I don't know if you're trying to synthesize from the ground up, if you're trying to do your own sound design, or if you're using presets, but you could just practice trying, write a groove, lay down some drums, put down your bass, your melodies, your harmonies, whatever it is, and then go back and change the sounds. And don't worry too much about mixing and extra effects processing, although effects are an important part. Try to teach yourself what instruments sound together the way you want them to sound. And that's going to be trial and error, honestly. You're just going to try this preset, try that preset, try turning the filter, try adding a reverb, whatever it is that makes a variation that you imagine might get you where you want. But yeah, thanks for that question. We definitely touch on subjects like that when we're streaming here and in our... Sorry, guys. One mistake through the whole thing. When you know, we're doing our streaming, when we're doing our classes with 343, that's the kind of questions that we like to answer and we like to help you out with. So thanks everybody for watching today. Definitely had a mellow vibe. Thanks for going along with me, helping me kind of keep calm and relaxed in my hectic New York City family and work life. I really enjoy spending this time every week. It's something that I've become accustomed to hanging out and doing my thing and sharing what I do. So good stuff. Congratulations again to our winner. Thanks to all those in the chat and for all the great questions. Definitely stick with us. Subscribe if you haven't. Give us a reaction. Give us a thumbs up. We're on almost every day. We're back on Monday with Marilee. She's doing a great job. She's new with 343 TV. And I really enjoy the wide variety that 343 Labs has. You know, we're not just only one kind of a genre. You know, I can do techno and electro. And, you know, we've got all sorts of other genres from the various instructors and presenters here on 343 TV and at the school. So we cover a lot of bases, and I think that's great because I like all kinds of music. Thanks again, everybody. I will be back next. Actually, I'm going to say this now. I still have to talk to Thomas and Max about it, but I may not be able to stream next Saturday. I've got to arrange a replacement, a substitute, or maybe a guest host. We'll see how it goes this week. So I will more likely than not see you guys in 2 weeks. Thanks again. Have a good one. Adios.